We eat food on a regular basis, and for most individuals that is the intent of that ingestion is to prevent nutrient deficiency and to facilitate growth and development. For those children also involved in sport, the demands of exercise can place an increased requirement on some nutrients, and that can be challenging. Also, those individuals may have different goals or intended outcomes of nutrient ingestion, such that it might not just be the prevention of deficiency that's important, but rather to optimise training adaptations as a result of the exercise training they're conducting. The good news is that regardless of those goals, the adequate nutrient ingestion can be achieved by food and fluid in the normal diet. When we think of sports nutrition, really we try and break it down to some key aspects. Those are the type of nutrient that's been ingested, the amount of that nutrient that's been consumed, and the timing. And if we deal with those each individually, hopefully it can shed some light on the structure or appropriate structure and content of the diet. From a nutrient type perspective, we tend to focus on carbohydrates, fats and proteins. So carbohydrates will aid the replenishment of some of the carbohydrate stores within the body. Fat is responsible or has an important role in energy intake, the provision of essential fatty acids, and the absorption of some fat-soluble vitamins. Protein has many roles, and those that maybe have the most sort of attention are surrounding training adaptations and the supportive role that protein can have. Then we come on to a range of vitamins and minerals, and they have such diverse roles within the body, it's hard to maybe succinctly abbreviate them in such a short period of time. However, they can have positive roles in the breakdown of those nutrients I've already mentioned. They also have a role, for example, in bone health or oxygen transport around the body, and the antioxidant protection that some of them offer. And all of those can play important roles in young athletes. Unfortunately, there's relatively little information specifically on younger athletes to help guide us, but general or more recent guidelines would suggest that some of the work and recommendations for adults can be applied to the younger athletes. This is because some of the guidelines are reflective of an amount being consumed relative to body mass, and that information is relatively easy to achieve. Then we come on to timing. Timing is really important. It tends to be sort of a focus around the timing post-exercise, but really we see great benefit of having an appropriate structure of nutrient ingestion throughout the day. And that can really help guide and provide the foundations in structuring an appropriate diet for your child. In terms of some useful tips and starting points, I always find it beneficial to sort of sit down and try and plan out what a typical day would look like. That's really sort of advantageous for you to sit down with your child and do that, and it can really be insightful in terms of identifying areas or gaps in a day where nutrients are not necessarily provided as regularly as we would like. And so by looking at the demands such as school demands, travel demands, travel to and from training, and obviously sleep, it enables that sort of template to be put in place. In terms of just general cooking within the home, with that time element as a challenge, a lot of parents or those that successfully sort of get around or circumvent that problem, they use tricks such as batch cooking, utilising the freezer, and that can often be cost and time saving. And a lot of foods can be frozen, and that seems to be a nice sort of way around that problem. Fruit and vegetables seem to be a little bit of a battleground when we speak to parents around the likes and dislikes of their children. However, there are various ways around that, and that's firstly to acknowledge that fresh, frozen and dried fruit and vegetables can still contribute quite positively to the nutrient intake of the diet. It is also important to remember that fruit and vegetables are only just some of the foods that can be consumed that provide, for example, vitamins and minerals. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that actually a wide range of foods can provide those vitamins and minerals, and it's not just fruit and vegetables. So making those good suggestions or selections around whole grain options and a real broad, diverse diet is really beneficial, not just for nutrient intake, but to exposing a child to various different food items to help them later on in life. Hydration is a really important area that comes up time and time again when we speak to parents. And it's really important to acknowledge you can drink too little and that may result in dehydration. And you can also drink too much, and it's this careful balance between the two that's important. Unfortunately, it's really difficult to recommend specific amounts of fluid to be consumed that's appropriate for all athletes in all situations. And that's because athletes sweat at lose different amounts of fluid via sweat at different rates, and it's also linked to the exercise type and environmental conditions. Consequently, we try to recommend athletes to take control of their own strategies and monitor their own fluid losses to help guide the hydration strategies appropriately. If your child is concerned with the hydration strategies they currently adopt, there are a few easy techniques that can be used to help individualize those strategies. We encourage athletes to, for example, to monitor the colour of their urine to see if they're hydrated, and also there's the opportunity to monitor their body mass before and after exercise to determine the change in body mass, and because that's in quite close proximity to one another, that can really give an indication of sweat loss. However, we do not encourage that to happen every training session, but certainly can just be used to gain some information or useful information to help guide their drinking. If you would like further information, please see the fact sheets that are available on our website.